Hey everyone. I wanted to do the Phantom video. Sorry that it took a while. Just doing comfortable doing this kind of video format. Yeah. I'll talk about my thoughts on Phantom. I guess like tips on the class, because I think a lot of people see careless videos or like DPM charts and stuff like that. And people kind of think Phantom's really bad, or like the damage is really bad, but honestly, the class is very consistent DPS. Um, so their toolkit allows them to stay on top of a boss pretty well, because they have access to so many iframes. Like, obviously some are situational, but most of the time you're using Final Cut and Phantom Spark as your iframe to like stay on a boss. And it's even better when you have cooldown skip. I don't have it anymore because I'm prioritizing pop duration right now. But there's like a lot of guides online. If you look up like on Google guides for inner abilities, and every single one, even like Reddit posts, all of them say to take boss damage. Boss damage is useless. You don't need it. The best in slot for the legendary line is the chance to skip cooldown. It's just far better. Because being able to skip the cooldown on Final Cut and Tempest, not as much, but still beneficial. But mainly for Final Cut, because if you're able to skip the cooldown on Final Cut, you're able to play a lot more aggressively. You can stop relying on Phantom Smart for those niche situations of using it as an iframe, like for Lucid. Like if you're waiting for Bomb or Dragon, you can kind of use Final Cut for that. And you can start relying on Phantom Smart for damage. Like, a lot of people don't really know how to play the class properly, because the class is kind of hard to manage, because you have to pay attention to a lot of your skills, like roots and everything. But yeah, like, Phantom's able to stay on a boss because of all these iframes, but also because you have heal. Heal is, I mean, heal is pretty broken. Like, heal is just a really good skill. Because now you have two forms of healing, which is beneficial. But also because it doesn't really matter if a boss has touch damage, because you kind of just switch between using heal and potions, and it's just really good. But the other thing is that I know a lot of people think Hurricane classes are bad, but Phantom benefits from being a Hurricane class, in my opinion, because they're able to like weave in and out of boss attacks pretty well. Like, if you look at Lotus, you're able to really weave in and out of his attacks pretty well. Even the pushback move, you can literally just go away. Or, even better, you can literally stay on top of Lotus and just like switch to each side without ever being to stop attacking. Not many classes can do that. They can't just stay on top of a boss like that without fear of like taking too much damage. Like, Phantom just doesn't care because of all these skills. Another thing is Dark Sight. I mean, Dark Sight's just broken, but it's even better in Destiny now because you can use it in tandem with Crowd Walk, but also you can use Blackjack in it as well, and it doesn't take you out of Dark Sight. So when Damien does like orb or like the dumb flame balls and stuff, you're able to just like jump in, throw Blackjack, and just go away. Like, you're always able to deal DPS. And considering the fact that Blackjack does like over 20% of your TPS, it's always good to throw it out whenever you can. So being able to throw it out within Dark Sight is super helpful. Another thing is there's like a lot of times where people just kind of hold Tempest down, even though Blackjack is off cooldown, and honestly, you want to throw out Blackjack whenever it's off cooldown, even if you're in the middle of using Tempest. Because even though Tempest outdamages melee, it doesn't matter because Tempest and melee barely do they're like 5 to 10% of your DPS. They don't do that much. Most of your damage comes from Carte Noire and the Swerve cards and Blackjack. But obviously you still want to use these skills because they proc this faster. But Blackjack still procs Carte Noire. So Blackjack plus melee will just end up just out damaging Tempest. It's like over time, like all of this adds up. It's always just better to do Blackjack. Like I've tested this like multiple times. It's just does more damage. Kind of it. Like in terms of like the damage. Like it's really consistent. It's just very difficult because you do have to like pick and choose when you use Phantom's Mark, and you have to manage fruit, or when you want to switch to Sacro and stuff like that. But this toolkit, like overall, lets you survive a long time. Like Phantom has like the best survivability. Like people always bring this up, and this is like the best thing about Phantom, where they have incredible survivability. But that's the thing, like, because of this survivability, they're able to stay on a boss, but people don't really think about that. They just kind of think the damage is bad because Hurricane class. Another thing is people think the Mobbin's kind of not good on Phantom, but I feel like most of the time, people are like using like Holy Symbol here. And, like Holy Symbol is nice to have, obviously, because it's still better than the decent Holy Symbol. But the thing is that like a lot of it is map dependent. The Mobbin is really good outside of like a few select maps. Jake is kind of terrible, and like these two maps are like some of the worst for Phantom. Morass is just bad in general. No one really trains here. Like you don't ever really train here. Like these three areas suck. But Perversity, Yum Yum, Patch, Arcana, Varus, Celis, and Nebris, like all these maps you're able to clear really, really well. And that's only because of boost nodes. I guess this is one thing to talk about. So a lot of guides tell you to have Impeccable Memory 4 on this node, and honestly, that's probably one of the worst things you can do because you're not really going to use Penombre much for training, and while like the damage on Rosecart Finale is nice, it's not that big a priority. Like even without the boost nodes, you'll still one-shot. Like the DLT won't, but it's better to have just all the impeccable memories on a boost node. Like I don't know why like some boost node guys tell you to have 4 on here. It's really useless. You choose Blajon because even though Blajon's kind of not good, it's like a filler skill, but it has its niche uses. Like if you're low on Phantom Mark stacks, you can just use Blajon really quickly to just, you know, fill up your stacks so you can have access to like your iframe and stuff. But most of the time that's never really an issue. There's only certain cases where like you won't have it, i.e. like Lucid, because like part 2 Lucid at least, because she like flies all over the place. Another good use is just kind of like when you're jumping back into attack, because I mean obviously you just use Phantom's Mark, it's off cooldown, but for something like Will, like normal Will, when he summons the orbs that track you, you can like pop them and then jump in, use Splash on, and then just go back to using all your skills. Obviously, throw out Blackjack more than anything. I guess another useful tip is, aside from like prioritizing your boost nodes, you wanna prioritize these two skills the most in terms of bossing. Blackjack is the most beneficial overall because you can use it for training as well. But I mean, it does the most DPS technically. Like, even though like you'll do a lot with your burst, I think Blackjack is probably like biggest priority. Like getting Joker to 25, level 25 is important because you gain an extra second on your burst. So it goes from 360 hits to 420 hits, and that's a lot. It changes your damage a lot, so it's really useful to get this skill to 25 whenever you can. These two skills are kind of similar priority. Technically, Phantom's Mark does more damage, but the thing is that it's a little bit more situational. Like, in some bosses, it doesn't matter. Like Damien, Lotus, a lot of like the pretty easy like bosses, it doesn't matter that much to use as an iframe. I mean, like probably if like it takes you a while to like kill kill Magnus, then yeah, like, you know, you probably want to save it, but like overall you probably want to, I think it's probably better to prioritize First Break over Phantom's Mark, but they're practically the same priority. Buff wise, you do want to focus on Last Resort first. Once you get more note slots, Broods is more important than Goddess Blessing. You technically still do want to use Speed Infusion for Phantom because even though, like, I don't use it that much because I don't care that much, but if I did, I would probably just replace Uplift because you don't really need it as much anymore. At least for Lucid. I just like having it on because pause and everything. But Speed Infusion is still useful because it speeds up your animation for Rift Break, Blackjack, and Rose Card Finale. I don't think it changes much for Phantom Spark. I could be wrong. And Hurricane skills obviously aren't affected. Like, it'll probably just change the cast speed of it, but that's about it. I guess another thing is people think the support Phantom's kind of bad. I don't think it's bad. It's very flexible, but I guess like compared to Kana, like they're not the best, or like they just straight up Bishop because of Benediction and stuff. But it's still pretty good because they're kind of able to feel like act as like two classes as one. Because you can run Speed Infusion and Time Leap here, and you're able to switch between those skills. You can also just do like a Bishop skill if you really want to, but I think you can still res, but I don't think that useful. But it's still technically an option. You're able to use Shell or Fountain, third job, and it's pretty good. And Heal and Spirit Blade. And being able to just kind of like switch between whichever is needed more is pretty helpful. It's like when skills are off cooldown, you can just kind of switch to like a different Nolan skill. Like if you use Fountain, then you can just switch to like shell. You need shell more. And it'll still like continue to like cooldown will still continue to decrease even if you switch off it. So it's really useful. Yeah, I think that's kind of it. I don't think there's much else to talk about the class. Overall, just a game. It's not really that important, but yeah, Phantom's not really bad. It's just you need to learn how to utilize the toolkit a lot. That's kind of it.